A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers, Chandigarh edition. Now, in today's newspaper, much of the paper is dominated by the news on the flood. So we can look at the issue of floods, the concerned issues, so that we can prepare. After that, we will straight away jump to the editorial section. Not much today. Then international section, something about Biden's visit, something happening in Israel. So all that we are going to see. And then briefly the economy section. So let's get started. So first of all, the rain brings north to its knees. Right? We all know how much rain has taken place. It is said that a single day of rain, the 24 hours, the recent 24 hours, is comparable to the rains that take place during the entire monsoon season. So in some places, the rain is comparable to the rain that takes place in the entire monsoon season. Some analysis is that it is comparable to a month of rain. Irrespective, the importance is that the amount of water that has flown in a single day is too much. If it is spread out over a longer period of time, the infrastructure can well manage it. But the entire rain is taking place on a single day, and therefore all the crises are taking place. The drainage cannot manage the entire months of rain on a single day. Okay, so that's what. So urban floods are taking place. Apartments are getting drowned till basement and the first floor. A lot of images are circulating in the news. Roads are caving in. Roads have collapsed. So all that we are going to actually see. So we'll have a lot of images today. Now, naturally, the question arises with all these floods. So the issue of flood management is something that we can look at. So flood management, what needs to be done. With flood management, we can also talk about urban floods. We have pointers on this we can borrow the pointers from the National Disaster Management Authority guidelines, as we do for landslide, etc. So that we can refer. I also have some points which I will share maybe through a separate video. Then second, we can talk about another theme is that these, weather events, uncalled for weather events, record breaking events, like for amount of water that is flowing, or previously we were talking about heat waves. The hottest day happened recently this year. Then we can talk about last year when there was no spring season. So these weather events are going. So what has to be done? What is the reason for it, and what needs to be done is something that we can prepare. Right. So this thing should be GS1. We're talking about geography. Well, this is more of disasters. So GS3. They're directly mentioned in your UPSC syllabus. So since 2013, extreme events each year, but few lessons learned. There is an explainer. It's only telling us what all happened, not much as to what needs to be done. Right. So yeah, these are basically themes that we can take from today's newspaper. Next is the elections in Bengal, the local body elections. So the day after elections, so re-poll is ordered by the State Election Commission. And we know that during this time, lot of violence had taken place. So first, we can look at this issue. So it is the responsibility of the State Election Commission to manage elections peacefully, objectively in a particular state. And for local bodies, it is the responsibility of the State Election Commission. There is another Election Commission of India that is for the state legislative assemblies and the Lok Sabha elections. But here, for local bodies, be it urban local bodies or panchayats, this is the responsibility of the State Election Commission. So we can look at a theme over here about the effectiveness, right? Effectiveness, objectivity, independence of the State Election Commission. Its ability to conduct its functions, its function of doing election objectively. So this is something that we can prepare from mains point of view. Then we should also know from pre-perspective about the powers of the State Election Commission, right? We should know about it, how the officers how the commissioner of the State Election Commission can be removed. So certain information we should have, which is actually mentioned given in your Lakshmikant book also. Okay, so the State Election Commission is formed under Article 243K of the Constitution. So Article 243, this is a constitutional body, but here lot of power has been given, like about composition, etc. It is not uniform across the states. It is decided by the laws created by the state. Clear? So there is no real uniformity as to what will be the members of composition in, let's say, Bengal or Punjab or Delhi. It is not. It is dependent on the laws created by a particular state. Fine. So this is about the State Election Commission, and they obviously conduct elections for your municipal corporations, urban local bodies, as well as the rural local bodies. Next, in Tamil Nadu, the chief minister urges the president to remove the governor, Governor Ravi. He's made some remark, and so it's about inciting hate. The governor should be basically working objectively. Here we are saying that the governor and the chief minister is constantly under a tussle. So much so that this time even the BJP BJP party at the state level has also opposed some of the actions of the governor. Okay, so yeah, now underlying theme over here is the conflict between the office of the governor and the elected representatives of the state, in this case the chief minister. And across the, not just Tamil Nadu, but other places also, non-BJP, where the government is there we are seeing this. This is always there, center and states, there is a tension. Now over here we can refer to the Punchi Commission. Punchi Commission on the issues of the governor. It's Punchi Commission is on center-state relations, and one of the issue is about the governor, as to what are the criteria that should be followed for the appointment of the governor, how the management of this tension can be, how it can be managed in a better way. So all that is mentioned over here. So these can be referred to. Okay, 15 antiquities from New York's among 150 returned, right? So express impact. Okay. Now this thing, international antiquities being smuggled, trafficked, it is under the purview of UNESCO. Punjab Agricultural University develops new variety of wheat to keep blood sugar level, obesity in check. So they have created Punjab Agricultural University by means of, I assume, genetic engineering or transgenic crops, PBWRS1 variety. So the new variety of wheat is, the scientific name is PBWRS1. RS1 means resistant starch, right? So resistant starch, because resistant starch won't cause an immediate and rapid rise in glucose levels, therefore helping with the blood sugar level and obesity. So immediate rise in sugar level and glucose level will not take place. Now what starch is there actually? What is it called? It is known as amylose starch. So amylose starch is resistant starch. Right, so this was basically for prelims. And here again from mains also you can see the applications of genetic engineering, the applications of transgenic crops. So this is one that we are looking at, nutritional security, that people are not affected with the health issues are going on. So looking at that point of view. Okay, so this is one theme. Other, I like the title on the top, from food security to nutritional security. This is something definitely from mains perspective. So initially, 1960s, etc., we were talking about food security. That food grains should be available to the people. So many calories are to be consumed. Even the below poverty line says so many calories are required for a person to sustain. So for that, how much money should be there? The focus was on food security. Now, in the recent times, with the Green Revolution, etc., we have availability of food. We have National Food Security Act, so which is being able to provide food, especially the staple food, to the people. Now we are talking about nutritional security. There is a talk about nutrient hunger with reference to the micronutrients. There is iron deficiency, there is zinc deficiency, there is deficiency of vitamins, which is affecting the growth of the children, health of the people, all that. So, looking at diversifying from here. Okay, so from food security to nutritional security. So, nutrient hunger, micronutrients deficiency. So, that is being looked into. Further, for this, we are looking at biofortification, that is adding value, adding minerals to existing food items. So, for instance, we are ordering milk for my daughter. So, milk with which is actually supplemented with iron. So that's an example of biofortification. Okay, yeah. Then looking at obesity also in this case so that is also part of nutritional security, that rightful nutrition is going. And we can also look at the non-communicable diseases. So this is it. We can look at it from GS3 perspective, especially the one in the red. After this is now Karnataka news. After refusing rice to Karnataka, Food Corporation of India finds no takers in e-auction. Okay. So Karnataka, recently elections took place. We have the Congress over there now. And they had said that we will give you rations at a higher subsidy. Right? So they wanted to give rations, higher subsidy than what the center prescribes. Now, to give that grains, the government was willing to pay the Food Corporation of India and buy those grains and sell it. Fine. So, Food Corporation of India is the one that holds and stocks the grains. They buy it from different states and they stock it. Okay. So, the Food Corporation of India said that we are not going to sell you the rice. We have given you the quota of grains. Now, beyond this, we cannot do it. So they denied this. So Karnataka said, okay, fine, we will give you money instead, money worth of whatever rice is there. We will give you market value of that money, market value of that rice. Okay. Now here it is telling us as to the Food Corporation of India said that we will not be able to supply you rice. But when it was selling the grains, through e-auction, through its operations known as Open Market Sales Scheme Domestic. Open Market Sale Scheme. That is, it is selling its grain in open market. So it did not find much takers. Not many people were willing to buy the grains from them. So might as well would have given it to Karnataka for welfare objective. Okay. Now here there is an explainer which is saying as to why Food Corporation of India would have not agreed to Karnataka's demand. So one is there was concern over the price rise and food security given the event of El Nino expected. Right, so that was a concern. Secondly, today Karnataka is asking, tomorrow other states will also ask, and that may create problem of buffer available for food. So that is the reason why they would not have agreed. Moving on. So you see most of it is on the floods only. The same things repeated from the front page. So things were very, very bad. Okay. What we can do is from floods perspective, what all news that you are seeing, we can look at it from disaster mitigation, of course, GS3, disaster management. We can also look at it from the point of view of ethics case studies. So case studies, you will see various places, the DC has come into the action. So case studies are nothing but it's a role play where you are appointed as a person, you are appointed as a DC, DM, there is a crisis, how you deal with that. Right. So sometimes there is an ethical dilemma. Sometimes there is an ethical dilemma that you have to look into, and sometimes there is an administrative crisis. So there they are trying to look at your aptitude, both ways actually. So administrative aptitude. So yeah, so you can look at the problems over here, how you would have tried to deal with that situation. So that's it. And you can actually get points as to what is the district administration, etc. doing. So the local news in that light is important. Here you can see this is Chandigarh, which is called a smart city, has a very good infrastructure, drains, everything is cleaned actually. Okay. So officials blame drainage system. Resident asks, is it smart city? So you can see the road, it's nothing inside it. Everything is caved in. So over here, let's look at this news. Uh, so basically with reference to the floods, we want drainage system. The drainage system is to drain out the excess water. Now the problem was that amount of rain that has happened in last 48 hours, it is very, very high, severe, and drainage system could not have dealt with it. So officials are saying that the drainage system was for 15 to 25 mm of rain, while the rain that has happened is much, much more. Now because of this, we see this crisis over here. Okay. Now, the residents are asking that we know that the rains taking place are much more every year it is taking place. Why are you not increasing the drainage capacity? And what are you doing about it? So first of all, when we talk about drainage, first thing is to clean and maintain it, and other is to increase the capacity, widen or deepen the drainage system so that more water can be carried. Now here we have a very interesting observation from one of the engineers from the civic body. So they're saying that fine, we can increase the drainage. We can increase the capacity of the drainage, no problems with that. But ultimately the drains flow into small river paths known as chores. So ultimately it will flow into chores. Right? Local rivers which now it is not there, but when rains happen, these are flooded. So we can do that. But the problem is that the chores are again not very, very wide. Ultimately, the water will block at the chores and the problem will still be there. If we want to increase the drainage, we have to deepen the chores also. And now let us look at what are the chores. So chores are seasonal streams or rivers that flows across Punjab, Kandi region. This is given in your NCRTs also, and this is something that can be asked in your prelims paper as well. So Indian geography book, it has it mentioned. Moving on. Yeah, same sites are there. This is Chandigarh Manali highway has gone. This was the case study kind of thing which was mentioned. The DC has plunged into, the basement has gone, and you can see the water has reached till the first floor. Moving on. Yes, this is about the Uniform Civil Code. So with reference to the Uniform Civil Code, there are obviously people who are going to have problems, and one of them is tribals. Now, tribals, be it in the central part of India or be it in the northeast, they are going to have a problem, and they are a very important vote base. So here we have that RSS body, obviously RSS BJP. So RSS body is telling the law panel on the Uniform Civil Code that please understand the tribal practices before taking any decision. So if there are any misunderstandings because of activities on social medias, so if people are being misled, then they should be informed. And tribals also, if they have a problem, they should go directly to the law commission. Okay. Next, we have idea exchange. This is basically an interview with the German ambassador. So his views are being taken into it. Right. So I think we can just focus on the head main important points which are marked over here. That the newspaper itself is saying that this is the one that is to be read. So identify this from here. So let's read what is there. So first of all, India is hosting the G20 presidency. So it's saying that India is an interesting partner on the international stage. India is an important partner at the international stage. Now, can you say why? What has India to offer on the international stage over here? So that we can see India is a great market. India has a huge labor force. India is seen as major land power in Asia as well as emerging superpower. India is seen as an important pillar for US when we talk about China. So a lot of things are there. Then when India is seen as a voice of the global South, so number of points can be seen over here. Now here naturally we are talking with Germany. Germany represents the West, and when we talk about the Ukraine war, we have been not being so vocal about criticism of Russia over here, and we have been buying crude also from Russia at cheap rates. So there was a criticism in this regard. So here we have something on the slide, that why are we not cutting off our ties with India is not cutting off its ties with Russia. So we're saying that first of all, India is heavily dependent on the military equipments technology, especially from only one country. Most of it was initially from Russia. Now we are looking at US and other countries. So we cannot stop this transaction in one day. It's a very long process. It has taken place over the decades, and to phase out also, well, it will take decades. For example, let's say we can talk about Sukhois. We have Sukhois from Russia. So they are already there in our country. Tomorrow, we cannot say that we will not use Sukhois, we'll use American planes, French planes. So this will take a long period of time. And for Sukhois, we need them to be serviced. We need the weapon system. So a lot of things are there as part of the military deal. Then there's a mention of Putin and that Putin misjudged the Ukraine invasion. Putin is drawn into it now. This has become a war of attrition. So he's saying that Putin this time misjudged the West, that the West and the NATO, uh, they thought that nothing much will happen. We will be easily able to run over Ukraine. So this misjudgment took place. This was because in 2014, when Russia invaded Crimea, which is in Ukraine, West was more or less silent. But this time, the West has been supporting Ukraine in many ways. Plus, there was a very, very strong sanction all across. So this misjudgment took place, and now they are finding it very difficult to escape from it. Okay. So we have this editorial page now. So broken ballot not doing it. It's basically a criticism of the ruling party in West Bengal in managing of the elections at the local body level in Bengal. Right, so this thing, and also the state election commission, more of it is dominated on the political front. India seems ready to take on El Nino, but vegetable prices are a matter of concern. We know that tomato prices, etc., have been high. Presently, I'm not taking this up, right? So we'll take it up some other time. Okay. Next, we have heat is on. Heat is on. This article is on heat waves. So this is quite a belated article, right? Heat waves are already gone. We are talking about monsoons and the flood cycle. So the focus here is on the heat waves. That is the last week's Monday was recorded as the hottest day. The overall global temperature was crossed 17 degrees Celsius. Now talking about global temperature, not the weather of that particular day. So overall, across the globe, this was 17 degrees Celsius and it was recorded as the hottest day. Right. So this was a record that was broken, and scientists say that many more records are going to be broken. We are going to have much more worst floods, droughts, intense forest fires. All that are going to happen in the times to come. And we can say that much of it may be attributed to the climate change like events. Okay. So till here it was fine, right? So this we can say that we can just focus on this thing, like record breaking events are taking place. What are the reasons why? So, and what mitigation measures should be taken into account? From the now on, from the next para, the focus is on heat action plan. That most states are not having the heat action plan. Much needs to be done on that regard. So that's the main theme. The main thing is heat action plan after this. So we can take this article into two parts. One is about weather events, climate change, and the second one is about the heat action plan. The same thing is repeated. The state is callous on this regard. State needs to do more, etc. Basically, heat action plan. Next is empowering the digital Nagrik. So it's saying that the digital data protection bill. So I think you know by now, data protection bill, it is about protection of the data. So this is going to be introduced, and this may be introduced. So in this regard, they're saying there are only two things they are being referred in this article. That is data portability and data interoperability. That these should be factored in to the data protection bill. Data portability is ability to port or transfer your data. Right? Port, I think one very good example is with mobile phones. So I'm not happy with, let's say, Airtel, I move to Jio. I'm not happy with Jio, I move to some other company. So that is portability. So data portability, I have put my data in one particular service website. Not happy with that service, I move and jump to another service. I take my data from them to the other service. Now this entity should not be having my data. So one is the option of transferring your data, right? And if I'm not happy with the services or some wrongful activities taking place, so I can move out from there. So here example is given for e-commerce, and one very good, I think Amazon is good example. So many of those who are selling things, they have to register, they do it on Amazon. So especially small business players, so they go on Amazon, they're not happy. So they are there, they're selling it. So their data, the person's data plus the data of the products, the price, etc., are there with Amazon. Very soon we find these services are available on Amazon Basics. So Amazon is directly selling them and not through the sellers who originally pitched in that product. So this is a clear case of misuse of data. So if people are not happy, they should have the option of moving out of this platform. Whatever data, whatever things are there, moving out of this. So that is data portability. So this will provide users greater flexibility if anything is being misused or there is pervasive surveillance is going on as to your activities, they can move out of it and take away your data. Now this we can same apply it for Facebook or in any other social media also. Then we have data interoperability. Now suppose you have ported your data from one platform to another platform. So when you have moved it over here, it will only work if there is data interoperability. Interoperability means users to escape the walled garden platforms fine. The data that is over here, the format, whatever is there, it should be in such a way that it can be moved to the second one and the same is working over there without much hassle. That is data interoperability. You can use this, you can use that, whatever. This data is usable in both the places. So if data portability will not work if there is no data interoperability. Okay. Now with reference to data interoperability and portability, it is saying that it may provide opportunities for Indian startups in India, new age startups that are emerging. So they can use this especially interoperability. The data that is there in one, they can take it to the used by the startups over here and can provide them benefit. Energizing the sciences. This is upon the NRF. We have discussed this multiple times, not today now. Statisticians are not stupid. So there was an article recently from an economic advisor to the Prime Minister that statistics that are collected by the government, the various government agencies, this is not right, and this is not showcasing the government schemes, etc., in good light. So government is doing much more, but the data is not showing it. So, I personally felt it very bad, like yeah, you're doing things, but data is not showing it. What does that mean? That means your scheme is not good, your implementation is not good, something else is wrong. You're blaming the other person that your data being collected is not wrong. It's like a student is studying, but teacher is not giving marks. Okay. The statisticians are not stupid. So it's basically saying that criticism of sample surveys is not misplaced. Their data differ from census counts because of definitions are different. So the same thing is mentioned over here from exam point of view does not seem very relevant. Problems of Muslim women are not limited to family law. Ask the Hate Brigade. Not taking this up again. Okay. Coming to international section, the world page. So we have something about Ukraine. Then we have Israel. Pressure retains on Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, as Israel protests judicial overhaul. Very briefly, Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, is having graft charges, corruption charges. Okay. Now, at this very time, graft charges means that ultimately it will go to the courts. The courts will decide. So the charges are filed in the court will look into it, the judiciary will look into it. Now we want judiciary to be objective so that the government does not interfere. Otherwise it will benefit the Prime Minister. Okay. So at this juncture, the Netanyahu government is focusing on bringing in a judicial reforms or judicial overhaul. So major reforms are being considered at this time, at the very time when court cases on graft are going on against the head of the government, the Prime Minister. So therefore, there are protests going on. So you can see the problem over here. Right? Next, Sudan on brink of full-scale civil war, says UN Chief Guterres, as clashes continue. In Sudan, there is a war going on with their military, army, and paramilitary forces. So they are fighting. So this may go bad and may become a full-scale civil war. Now let us look at Sudan. So Sudan is in East Africa, bordering the Red Sea region. There are this Mara Mountains, Nubian Desert, and Red Sea hills over here. Right. So we should know the basics of any place. The Nile River passes through it, and it bifurcates into Blue Nile over here. Okay, so this is Sudan. So you should watch it. You should always look the things in the news in the atlas. Russia calls on NATO to discuss Ukraine nuclear power plant at summit. Okay, so there is a summit that is going to take place in NATO, and the NATO summit is going to take place somewhere in Europe, and this thing is not mentioned here, but it is mentioned here. President Biden begins 3-nation tour. He'll be visiting London. From London, he will go to Lithuania, and then he will go to Finland. And why is he going to Lithuania? Because here the NATO summit is taking place. Right, so Lithuania. So NATO summit is taking place over here, and President Biden is also there. So here Russia is saying that in NATO, please discuss the issue of the Ukraine nuclear plant, Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Right, so that you discuss. Fine. So I think this is it. There's nothing more beyond this. President Biden is visiting UK, London. He'll meet King Charles over there and Rishi Sunak. They'll discuss about Gisapita topics, climate change, Russia, China, all that they're going to discuss. NATO summit. Then he's going to visit Finland, and there he's basically discussing about the Nordic countries. Now, what are the Nordic countries? Nordic countries are geographical and cultural region in North Europe. So this you can see over here. So this is the Nordic countries. Okay. So these includes Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, and the Faroe Islands and Greenland, and the autonomous regions of Ireland. So this is the Nordic region. Now we come to the economy section. Yes. Data protection bill may happen that it may lower the age of consent and ease related norms. Okay. So what is there in the data protection bill? We are basically speculating only at the moment. The bill is not there. So I would like to analyze the entire thing when the bill is there in the public domain. Now, let's see what it is talking about, the lower age of consent. So age of consent, they're basically talking about that when data, the data protection bill 2022 was there, and it said that how the data would be processed, collected, processed, and so basically how the data is collected and processed, how the consent has to be given by the user. So user's consent is to be required. Now for children means people below the age of 18 years. In that case, their parents' consent is required. Okay. So the proposal is that this consent, the consent with reference to the use of data provided by data protection bill, this to be reduced. Maybe make it 16 years, 14 years, whatever. So reduce this over here. Because it may be required that children need internet independence, access of internet. They are independent stakeholders for various reasons, academic reason or whatever. So for that, the age of consent should be lowered. And this thing is this thing is happening in other parts of the world also, like in Western world, in European Union, US, etc. So they prescribe a lower age of consent because the children can be independent stakeholders on the internet and might want access to internet without always needing their parents' consent. Okay, so this is it. This news is about the insurance sector. So IRDAI is the regulator of the insurance sector. Full form is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. Not of importance for us. Okay. Foreign portfolio investors continue to buy Indian shares. So investments are taking place, foreign currencies coming back to India. And the reason being, there are basically two mentioned over here. So one is that there is stable government policies, macroeconomic fundamentals are good, inflation is managed well. So all these reasons. And the other is these things are not there in other parts of the world. There is concern about elevated inflation, fear of recession, rate hikes. So therefore, India is the preferred market. China's economy is also seeing some breaks. So this is pushing the investors towards India. Positive momentum in business indicators, say Confederation of Industries, Indian Industries Survey. Okay. Government to hire agency to estimate size of the digital economy. So the government's previously said that it is estimated to be around $1 trillion by 2025. So now they want to hire some agency to analyze the true size of the digital economy. By the way, what is the size of the Indian economy? It is around 2.53 trillion dollars. The goal was that we will reach $5 trillion sometime soon. This is important. New trade expansion plan to woo 100 global companies across 30 countries. So first thing is there is a new trade plan, new trade expansion plan, foreign trade plan is going to come up. That is one thing, some policy. And second thing is what are the things the government is presently doing to promote trade with other countries or promote our exports. So here I'm referring to the PIB. So government takes several steps to boost Indian exports. So what things are there? New logistics division created, remission of duties and taxes scheme, right? Champion services sector adopted. So basically, champion services sector means some of the service sectors, they are being improved upon, they are being worked upon. Okay. Then there is a foreign trade policy that was there 2015-2020 till 2020. So we are in 2023. So new policy to come up. Now this is something that can be in your mains. You should keep an eye on this. In fact, read the foreign trade policy 2015-20 also. Then Niryat Bandhu scheme is there. Niryat means export. Bandhu means friend. So Niryat Bandhu scheme is there to promote exports. Then we have merchandise export scheme. So where is it given? So all of it is mentioned actually. MEI.